ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the livest show you're ever going to see now. This is our episode 1. Elise, Lightyear, Vargas, Justin Show-Off Davis, and together we are the LightShow, baby. So what we're going to bring to you for this first episode is going to be MMA based, MMA related, just because that's our area of expertise. But just want to let you know that going further and future into this show, we'll be talking about several different subjects, several different, thoughts, several different scenarios and stuff that goes on in the real world.
If you guys ever get questions, if you guys ever have, something you guys want to ask us, our expertise,
This won't just be an MMA-based show, although when there is a big fight card, you can always expect we will touch on it. We might even do like a little stream of the fight if it's a free fight, and then we'll be reacting live to it. We can post live, that way you guys can enjoy it and watch it with us. Just a little bit about our background to show that we have credentials to speak about MMA. We're not just like those other random podcasts that just want to talk about MMA but they live in their mother's basement. Go ahead and go.
What's up, guys? My name is Elise, Lightyear, Vargas. I am a pro fighter. I've been fighting for about, give or take, 7 to 8 years. My credentials, I would say speak better as an amateur, but I am a pro now. I've been pro for 4 years now. I've fought in the big time, fight events like Bellator. I have some local ones in San Francisco. As an amateur, I've flown all over, to New York, all up and down California. I am the 2015 California Camo State Champion, as well as a 7-time MMA champion. I am the 2018 State Junior College State Champion as well. Santa Ana represent, so trained. That's a little bit about myself. I'm going to give the microphone to Justin here.
Well, first off, if y'all in the Bay Area, you already know who I am, so I really don't have to do this whole introduction. Everybody knows I'm the king of Union City. Shout out to Union City 510. But for my MMA credentials, we've been training together for about 9 years now. I started fighting before him, talked him into it. Turned out to be pretty good. A good decision on his part to go ahead and decide to fight. Yeah. 2-time MMA champion at 170 and 185. I was ranked number 2 fighter at middleweight, the number 6 at welterweight. So we know what we're talking about when we're talking about MMA, so please believe us. We train right now at Dark Horse Gym in San Jose. Shout out to Dark Horse. If you're ever looking to get your ass whipped, roll on through. We'll hook you up one time. So we're just going to dive on to it right now. We're going to break down the several fights that happened last weekend and the weekend before. It's mainly focused on the heavyweight division because we have a big title fight coming up in a month about that one. But quick point of order, I want to give a shout out to my Brooklyn Nets. They're doing the damn thing right now. You see, he doesn't care about this right now. That's fine. Brooklyn Nets, shout out to y'all. I know we're getting a lot of bandwagon fans right now. Everyone wants to hop on the Brooklyn, fan page, but all my true fans and people out there know that I've been a Brooklyn Nets fan my whole life. So we stuck through this. We finally deserve this. We thought Jason Kidd was going to bring us home a title in 2000 and 2001. 2 back-to-back finals. We lost them both. R.I.P. to Kobe. You swept us. Good job. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets. I think this is our year. We're going to do it. Us versus the Lakers. And also shout out to the almighty Bobby Lashley winning the WWE Championship on Monday Night Raw. Only the 3rd black WWE champion in history. Over 60 years of an industry of that company, and it's only been 3 black WWE champions. I digress. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole separate subject. Before you guys say, what about Mark Henry, Booker T, blah, blah, those were world champions. Those are different. That was originally the WCW belt that they brought over. They don't mind giving that belt away. But the WWE Championship.
You tell them, Justin.
The WWE Championship.
You tell them.
Only 3. The Rock, Kofi Kingston, and now Bobby Lashley. The almighty Bobby Lashley. But shout out to you, Bobby. Hope you keep that belt. We might do a couple of wrestling on. I might throw in a couple of stuff.
Well, there you have it. There you have it, guys. That was, a little bit of that. A little, introduction. We're going to dive right on into last Saturday's fights. I think we should only, really touch on, the main event. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah. Overall, as fighters, you don't really want to down other fighters and say fight sucked, but it's getting kind of hard. It was hard to defend any of those fights last week.
I think there's only one finish.
Yeah, the whole card was lackluster.
It was no knockout finishes. Especially when we're getting all these great fights like Lewis. Knocking out Blades, and there's a lot of finishes in that card. But when you're actually watching these fights, and you're sitting down for all 3 rounds, you're like, whoa, what a shocker, because we're used to knockouts and stuff, and we want to see knockouts. But overall, I think Gane actually put on a masterful performance. He did what he needed to do to win. I mean, there's people that have different, viewpoints and different. One guy, for example, wants to come out and really put on a show, and one guy wants to, be able to win a belt. So, I mean, there's two trains of thought on that. It's like, do you want to be the exciting performer? You want to come out, put on a show? Or do you just want to get that win, and just get closer to the belt? And I think Gane, that's what he was trying to do. He just wants to get close to the belt, and he got to do what he got to do in order to win. It might have been a slow fight. It might have been, he didn't really take a lot of chances, but I for sure think he got the job done. And, he showed that he was the better fighter that day,
I don't think it was more so that Gane was doing it to not put on a show. I think he was really just respecting Rozenstruik's power, because Rozenstruik is a power striker. Don't let the Ngannou knockout fool you. Like, Rozenstruik is a power striker, and he knocks people out. And I think Gane was aware of that. He knew he was going to be more technical. Rozenstruik usually has great leg kicks, didn't really utilize them. He looked kind of robotic out there. Like, I didn't really like his game plan. He seemed very patient at first, which I thought, okay, he wants to drag this into the deep waters because he's been 5 rounds, Gane hasn't. So I thought he was just, buying his time. And then when you hear the urgency from his corner, like in rounds 3, 4, then you kind of knew, like, oh, this isn't part of their plan at all. He's just stuck out there. This wasn't part of their game plan. And I just think he just couldn't read Gane, and Gane was just, he was very masterful. He was very masterful in switching it up between knees and closing the distance, backing out, stiff jab. His stiff jab in round 1, I think, woke up Rozenstruik. That very first jab, which made his head snap, was just so beautiful.
Well, not only that, but just his speed. The speed and the power behind it, it's something you don't see. Someone so big, moving so fast, and with that accuracy, he was actually popping them, and he was moving in and out, which, it's kind of hard when you weigh, 260, around whatever, however much he weighed, but he was fast. He was really fast. One thing I noticed for sure.
And taking it back 2 weeks with what you touched on, Derek Lewis knocking out Curtis Blades. I know they were discussing that if Rozenstruik would have won this week, it was going to be Rozenstruik maybe versus Black Beast. But now that Rozenstruik put on a terrible performance and lost all 5 rounds, I don't really see Gane getting that shot against Black Beast there. Gane's, that was a big step up for Gane, but that doesn't do anything for Derek Lewis if he takes that Gane fight. So I don't know what they do with Derek Lewis now, if he waits for this title fight, or does he see what happens with John Jones? Like, I don't know what goes on with the Black Beast, because he called out Alistair Overeem. I don't think Overeem's going to take that. I don't think Overeem's going to take that fight.
He don't want those problems. No, actually, you know what? To Derek Lewis's credit, I think that he's willing to take anybody on regardless. He wants to fight Overeem, but I don't think he's going to get that one because obviously on the decline. But I think it'd be a good fight. I mean, I think it would be, kind of the freshman. This would be the freshman coming over trying to fight the senior, and Lewis, Gane is 8-0, 8-0 or 9-0. I think he's 8-0 now.
8-0.
And he's, he's the next guy to watch, even though his style is a little bit boring. Maybe you need that different kind of guy who doesn't care. And Lewis will come out and he will wait for you and he will make you pay if you make that mistake, as we saw with Curtis Blades. But I digress. It's one of the things where UFC is the only one that really knows what they're going to do. So it's up to them how they want to play that out.
Do you think that if Stipe loses to Ngannou, does Stipe get the immediate rematch?
No, I think John Jones is going to work his way in, because, it takes time for them to... And actually, it depends on which way he loses. if he gets a flash knockout where it's just not a lot of damage, just one punch and he's out, maybe, as opposed to a long five round war where he's gonna have to take a couple months off, because that's what he's been doing. He hasn't been able to turn around.
True.
He takes his sweet time to come back, to heal, and that's what you want to do when you're a champion, when you're fighting at that caliber. If I lost and if it was a bad 5 round war, I would say, John Jones, go ahead and take it from here, let him fight, and then from there I would try to fight John Jones, don't you think? Because
if John Jones wins.
If he wins.
So you'd still want him to get an immediate rematch on his next fight,
yes.
but not necessarily in Ngannou's next fight.
Yes,
okay.
Correct, yes.
Just in case you guys weren't following his train of thought.
Yeah,
I understood
I'm all over the place.
I understood what he was getting to. So Stipe would get an immediate rematch upon his return, but the division will keep going,
exactly.
and Ngannou would fight John Jones, as it looks like John Jones will be next in line for the belt.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you catch me stumbling, I'm sorry. I get punched in the head. John Jones. I'll say John Jones. Justin Davis out here is gonna be, my mouthpiece, and he understands me on a level where most of you guys probably won't. So if I say something kind of crazy, he will pick up on it and he'll correct me, and he will keep the show rolling, baby. All right, sorry, All
right, is there anything else we want to touch on about the heavyweight division?
Let's see. There's not really much to touch on, really. Other than where Alexander Volkov is going to go, and if Overeem is going to continue fighting, because I think he doesn't have a fight or 2 left on his contract. But after that, beaten, it was, I don't know if they want to give him
his whole thing was, this was his last ride. He was posting that. I follow him on Instagram. Shout out to Reem. That's everything he's been posting over the past year and a half. This is his last run to get to that title, and he was stopped in the most brutal fashion.
But that guy that he fought, Espinal, whatever his name is, that dude's a beast. He has been coming up. I've watched his last 2 or 3 fights, and he is a beast. But Overeem, with a record of 47 wins, 19 losses, that's a lot of fights. Maybe it's time to hang up the gloves.
He's the last of the Pride era,
yeah.
I think, in the UFC. I don't think there's anybody else left from the Pride era.
At least in the UFC, I don't think.
Yeah, that's still in the UFC. I'm not going to talk about the other leagues right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I honestly think if you were retired, Hall of Fame.
Shout out Shogun, one of my all-time favorite fighters. Can't forget about you. I don't think you officially retired yet.
But yeah, like I said, Overeem, I think he's had Hall of Fame worthy of a career, and so if he were to decide to retire, I don't think
MMA in totality, yes. But since they call it the UFC Hall of Fame, I don't know if they'd give it to him.
Just with the name, don't you think the name value that he brings?
Since the UFC owns the rights to Pride, maybe there'll be more,
Yeah. And then and obviously John Jones. I don't know. You want to touch upon DC's comments and their back and forth, or let's just save it for later on? And let's talk about the main.
I am an impartial person on this, and I gotta say, I think John Jones was a little out of line for posting that video of DC crying and everything. What people forget is DC's retired now. He's not talking from a fighter standpoint or a competitive standpoint.
Are you ever really, really retired in the MMA career? You can always just say, fuck it, I'm back, let's go.
I don't think at 43 years old, you're gonna roll up the couch and be like, I still got this. So, he's paid to do, analyst work. And even when he does his breakdown on the details, when he breaks down certain points in fights, that's what DC's job is. So in case you guys don't know what we are referring to, DC made comments on Ariel and DC that he doesn't see John Jones knocking out any heavyweights because he doesn't knock out anybody at light heavyweight. So why would we all of a sudden think that he's going to start knocking out these bigger, stronger men at heavyweight? Which is fair if you look at the past couple of John Jones fights. He's been really heavily scrutinized about not getting finishes. And I don't want to say carrying the opponent, because the opponent is putting on a great performance as well, but he hasn't been getting the finishes. And so that's all DC touched on. So he has facts supporting his argument. And John Jones decided to post the video of DC crying, after the loss and everything. But I believe that was the head kick loss, which was reversed anyway because Jones, you got popped for
contest
for steroids.
But like how he likes to say is a pinch of salt in a to his defense. But yeah, man. I mean, it is one of those things where it's always gonna be back and forth between them two. They hate each other. That's his rival no matter what. So if he opens his mouth, he's not gonna like what he says. Unless he is, praising him, I think it's just going to be an always thing where they go back and forth. But I don't know. Anyways.
We just had to touch on that real quick. Yep. Shout out to DC. Shout out
John Jones.
I think it was just a great analyst work by DC. But hey, I mean, technically, what if they watch this? Or what if one of the fighters that we're going to speak about watch this?
Fight him.
And they don't like something we say about them. I mean, that's the same thing essentially what happened to DC.
I mean, yeah, but we are fighters. I mean, would you fight one of these fools that we call out? That
I'd knock on these motherfuckers. Show off.
Oh shit. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move on now to talk about the lightweight division. A lot of confusion, turmoil. Nobody really knows what the state of the lightweight division is right now. Habib says he's done. Dana says not so fast.
He says, hold on.
But then Habib says, no, really, I am done. And then Dana keeps saying no. Let's just for a second picture Habib out of the way. Because if Habib is still there, then we could just go down the line. Poirier.
Who he's fought.
He already fought him. He'll beat him. Oliveira fight him. He'll beat him. We'll just
Chandler. He's gonna be 28 in Chandler.
We can. Too bad he has 29 wins. We can just do all of that. So let's just imagine a world where Habib is retired, greatest lightweight of all time. What do we do with the division
so far? So as of now, to my understanding, Dustin wants to fight Conor McGregor for the third time, which makes sense. That's a good money fight. That's a good. Fight for, I think, Dustin. He obviously, showed his expertise. He showed that he was a little bit better than Conor. Conor might have had a little bit too much time away. The competition wasn't as, fierce where he was fighting. I think that's going to be the next big fight for them too. And they were saying they want to fight maybe May, July. July is an international fight week. So, I mean, it would play in. They don't have no title fights during that time right there. There's a little slot where they don't have no title fights because, this weekend there's going to be 3, and so after that it's the Moreno's and he's fighting Figgy for that.
Flyweight.
Yeah, there you go. And who else? So we got Dustin, Conor, we have Justin, we have Charles, we have Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Dan Hooker just fought, so he might not be coming back. What about Dariush? What do you think of that guy? He just cracked the top 10. He hasn't been fighting anybody really of big name, and
I'm not gonna put him in this mix.
Yet.
The only person I see him being able to mix up with right now is Tony, because Tony has got to either get his confidence back, or that would be a swan song retirement fight.
What about this? So Islam is fighting this weekend. If he does happen to get through to Dover, what do you think of him fighting Dariush?
Let's not jump ahead of ourselves.
I'm just saying. Because you're right. I mean, you don't really see him kind of cracking down the top 8 really, because it's solid. It's solid. I think what I would like to see would be Michael Chandler would fight either Justin or Charles to see who's that next that next challenger for that belt, and then after Dustin and Conor, they hash out what they got to, then you'll see who the real challengers, the real championship fight should be, because I mean there's 6-7 really good fights and you could stack them any which way you want. I just think that Dustin obviously deserved the next title fight, so he should be the next guy.
I gotta say though, if they do the Dustin versus Conor 3, I am so opposed for it being for the belt. I am so opposed for that fight being for the title, for the Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3 being for the title. I know Conor has a lot of sway, so in his mind he can just go to Dana and be like, I'm not gonna fight him unless it's for the belt. And even if Poirier says no, I don't want it to be for the belt, Poirier doesn't have more cachet than Conor, so the belt would be on the line, and because Conor's just thinking, I don't want to have to work my way up a ladder again. I just want a belt.
Especially Murder's Row.
Yeah. So if that is for the belt, it loses a lot of credibility for the belt. There are people that deserve it way more. You know, Oliveira obviously comes to mind. He's on an 8-fight win streak. He's running through these people right now, which I honestly never saw this in him before because he's always been like win 2, lose 1, win 3, lose 2 kind of guy. But he's just been on this masterful tear right now.
No, I agree. I think I'm probably one of the biggest advocates for Michael Chandler. I think he does have the potential to be the champion. It is just getting him there. It's who does he fight next? I think that's more so of, finding a good potential fight for him and actually, clarifying who should be the number one guy or the guy who actually fights for the title.
I really like Michael Chandler. Shout out to Michael Chandler. You were on the same fight card with him. I was working his corner. We, saw him backstage, talked a little bit, talked it up. He's a cool dude. He has a black son. Represent that. Adopted himself a black baby. Appreciate you. Keeping us off the streets. But I do feel that it would be too soon because he beat Hooker. And the way I like to look at it is, if Hooker would have beat him, would Hooker get the title shot? And the answer would be no, right? So, because Chandler beat him, that doesn't put Chandler in the title fight.
I think say for example, if he would have beat Michael Chandler, I think he would fight one more time for the belt. He would fight one more time, and then if he won that, then he would get a title shot. Which is in the same position Michael Chandler's in. He doesn't get it right away, but if he wins his next one, then it's almost a guarantee. How are you going to deny
I think it would depend on who the next one is. If it's Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, and he knocks out Tony Ferguson, I don't think that gives you a title shot. Tony Ferguson, I'm sorry.
Then it got to be either Charles Oliveira or Justin. From the way you're saying it. It would have to. For me, it would have to be Justin, because Justin is still that number one contender. So I would say it would have to be Justin. Oliveira should, if MMA was organic and you worked your way up to a title shot, Oliveira would be in the title fight with Dustin Poirier. Conor would take a step back and he would fight a Chandler or a Dustin or the Nate trilogy, which is honestly, I would say the big money fight because, yes, Conor just lost to Dustin, but Dustin doesn't bring in that rah-rah that Nate does. Nate brings in like a different kind of audience to watch him. He brings in, I don't want to say like the streets, but he brings in the streets to watch him. Yeah, no, for sure. He has a lot of fans. He has a big following, especially here in the West Coast,
Yeah.
This is 209 area, Stockton, at being 45 minutes away from here. He is.
It's a legacy. It's a legacy name too, like because his brother Nick started it, and Nick always had a cult following, and then he blew up, and then Nate, was able to rise up to that level with his brother. So it's just the Diaz name is a brand now, and it's been a brand. And I just think Poirier's trying to work on the brand, so I'm not don't think I'm slighting Poirier, but I just don't think he has that brand yet, like Nate does if we're talking about big money fights for Conor.
Yeah.
But if Conor is just really, really wants to be a champion, then obviously he wants to rematch that with Dustin. But if we're talking about money fight, I think it's Nate, the one that's going to bring him the most. Especially since Nate just did that interview with Ariel, which honestly kind of didn't make any sense.
Did you understand it? I try to sit down through it and power through it, but there's it had me scratching my head every.
I watched it all and I got what he was saying, but it's just because you understand what someone's saying doesn't mean it makes sense. If you know what I mean.
True.
So like Nate wants to fight at 170, doesn't want to cut to 155 anymore, but he doesn't want to fight the 170ers because they don't have nothing for him. But he wants to fight the 155ers, but only if they come up to 170.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make sense if you're a 155er, but it does if you want to make that green. To be honest,
Well, if you're,
that's when I would be like, hold on, time out. Like if you're, Rafael dos Anjos, where he's, an 8, 9.
Nate wouldn't take that fight. Nate doesn't want that fight.
But that's what I'm saying though. That's the only time it really makes sense, when you're like not right there in contention of that belt, when you're right there, super close, but yet still far out of the reach of getting that title fight. At least in 2 fights, because you could go any which way and you could spin it, and
I would think if Nate was open to fighting Tony Ferguson, that would be the perfect fight for Tony Ferguson.
That would be a good fight.
Because Tony's nowhere near the title picture
not
right
anymore.
now.
Yeah,
he just dropped 2 straight, and both bad losses, getting dominated by Justin and getting dominated by Oliveira. That would be the fight for Tony. A good cash grab, and it could be a rebound fight, or he'll just get pieced up by Nate.
Yeah.
So that would be a good one.
That'd be a good fight.
Anything else in the lightweight division?
No, that's pretty much it for me. It's too much confusion right now. Hopefully in a couple weeks where everything smooths out, we'll have a little more clarity and be able to talk about it a little more with more.
All right, so we're gonna dive into now the UFC 259 lineup. Great card this weekend. I'm buying it. UFC 259,
and I'll be here for that.
It's gonna be a great card. So let's go ahead and we're gonna pause on the prelims right now. We are going to talk about the featured prelim because we got to show respect to who is the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominique Cruz. We're going to talk about his fight going against Casey Kenny. Go ahead, Lightyear, talk to me.
2-time world champion, Dominique Cruz. What can we say? This is a guy who, seems to have it all. He has footwork, grappling, wrestling, defense. He's very well rounded. He's one of the OGs of the sport. He's fighting a very strong up and newcomer, a guy who made a splash when they were Fight Island. He fought 2 times in like 2 weeks or whatnot, and he been putting in work. He came out really strong his last fight. Made major improvements. He has a really good like kicking style to where he can set up things, he can mix it up. He's not all, just a grappler or a striker. He's pretty well rounded, and he's been doing a lot better as of late. Dominique Cruz just, I would say just being a little bit older and more of a layoff, and his body needs to, I would say, recover a little bit faster, is going to make it the OG versus the newcomer, the guy who's going to be able to, use his fighter IQ versus someone who's, younger, faster, maybe stronger.
I think this is the perfect featured prelim fight to launch you into a pay-per-view because it is a big name with Dominique Cruz. Hardcore MMA fans know who he is for a long time, since WEC. He is 35 years old now. And it's not just the age, it's the mileage. He's had 3 or 4 knee surgeries, and he's just been out, on the shelf. On the plus side, that does recover the chin, but his movement at 35 with so many knee surgeries is the only thing I'm concerned about. But hey, look at his record. He's 22-3. So, and look at those 3 losses. His first one wasn't even at bantamweight. It was at featherweight against Uriah Faber, and he lost that fight. But then we all know he's avenged that fight twice. And then his other 2 losses, his other one is to Cody Garbrandt, which I would say is the only real legit one at bantamweight, because Cody just outworked him and then just pieced him up. And then the Henry Cejudo one, which, if you gotta be fair to Dom, he took that fight on 11-12 days notice. He thought that just him being the greatest of all time in that division, he'd be able to step in there and beat Cejudo, and he was trying to save the card. So I don't really put too much stock into that. 22-3, 35 years old, but Casey Kenny, 29, he's 16-2. The odd thing about this is Dominique Cruz is the underdog. He's plus 110. Casey Kenny is a minus 137. I think I want to say that's more about the layoff and the age is what they're looking at. But do you feel like they're disrespecting Dominique Cruz by having him be the underdog?
I honestly do think that they have. There's a little bit of disrespect in there, because when you have so many things to your name, so many accolades to your name. It's kind of crazy when they go, hey, this guy, he did fairly well. He's up and coming. He's strong. He's fast. He's young. Yeah, he's gonna smash you. It's pretty much what they're saying. Pretty much what they're saying. They want to hand off the baton from the older, like you said, WC, all those promotions, to this newer guy. They want him to be the new face of the promotion in a couple of years. So that's why it's always good to have these big name wins under your belt when you try to build somebody up. So that, I think it's a little bit of disrespect, but at the same time, I think it's great for Dominique Cruz. It's something what he's been looking for. It's just going to be a 3-round fight. He from what he said, I watched one of his interviews, and he said that's what he's looking for, a 3-round fight. It's easy for him. It's going to be something that he can do in his sleep. 3 rounds, boom, boom, boom. He's used to 5, so maybe it's going to be that's going to be the difference for him. He's going to be able to go 110 for 3 rounds as opposed to going a little like 90% for 4 or 5 rounds. When you have somebody that's never been in a 5-round fight, he doesn't know that pace that you can actually bring.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, I think a little disrespect, but that's just me. What do I know?
I think we're both picking Dominique Cruz in there. I mean, it's not just a feel good feeling that you're rooting for, the old timer. It's honestly just, I just think his skill set is just above anybody still in that division when it comes to like the movement and everything, but I do think age might be catching up to him, because I remember watching a prime Dominique Cruz. He was light years, no pun intended, ahead of the pack when it came to like dodging and his slips and he was just so far advanced ahead of everybody.
True.
But then when you watched the Cody Garbrandt fight, it made you kind of think like, I think this newer generation has finally caught up to his style. But this is a chance for him to prove, no, like, Papa's got a brand new bag. Like, I can still do this. I still got it.
But to your, how long ago was it that he was like years away? That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
It's 2021 now, so who knows?
Yeah. Moving into the next fight,
right.
We have in the light heavyweight division, Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. Now, first off, if you guys are going to jump in the comments and say that we're pronouncing the names wrong,
this probably are.
It's not just for this fight, it's for any fight. All right, we just have one comment to say, keep it to yourself, okay? Keep it to yourself, all right? Unless you're going to publicly call us and then let us know how to pronounce it or the right way to pronounce it, keep it to yourself. And then
after that, then we meet up in the cage and then we beat you up.
Yeah, all right? No one likes an internet bully, all right? Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, and I'm pretty bad at pronouncing names, so I'm sorry. I'm going to be butchering these left and right. I am horrible. I'm dyslexic. I got ADD. I got punched in the head. CT. Got all those. Just leave me alone. All right, guys. So let's get this started. So Thiago Santos, 21-8. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, though, which obviously doesn't stand well for him. But if you
still ranked number 2.
But if you look at the names that he's lost to, he lost to John Jones, which obviously John Jones, greatest of all time. We could, and Teixeira, he actually lost to him, and he's actually been on a tear. He's been doing very well, and I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten a title shot yet. But we'll see what happens with that. But anyways, I digress. So Thiago versus Rakic. There you go, that guy. So he is on a 1-fight win streak. His record is 13-2. This guy is very, very all around. He's a good fighter. I've been watching him as well. This is going to be, I think, to start off the main card, it's going to be a little bit, of a who can put the show on first. I think they're both going to be trying to knock each other out. Hopefully, they start the main card with a bang. I think, either guy has enough power to knock the other one out in this fight. I think that Thiago's has some dynamite in his hand, and he obviously can kick like no other. You've seen him kick when he had both knees blown out, and he still kept on going. He's a monster, There's no stopping this guy, and this is obviously going to be for bragging rights. These guys are both up and coming. These guys want that title. You know, they want that belt, so they know they got to get over each other. So whoever, you know, could knock the other out, or whoever could, you know, just throw it down a little bit harder, bite down on your mouthpiece a little bit harder, and fucking really go for gold. I think that's who's going to be able to, you know, who's going to come out the victor in this fight.
I'm not really sure we can call Thiago Santos an up-and-comer. I mean, he's 37.
Yeah, true. but he's not. He doesn't have that name. He doesn't have that name value. Like, you know of him, you've seen him. But do you think it's because of the layoff?
That's not really. I mean, just because he doesn't have the name value is not really because of, you know, he's up and coming. Remember, he had a long stint at middleweight, but he was just always win, lose, you know.
Well, I don't know, for whatever reason, this guy feels like somebody that can reach the title contention. Like, he could be, you know, the one of the main guys, but he's not. Like,
I mean, a lot of people thought he beat John Jones.
He's doing something that is holding. I mean,
I'm a lot of people.
But the thing is, he didn't beat John Jones. So I don't know, man. I mean, do you think it's just going to be another loss for him and make it 3 in a row, or is he going to turn it around? And
I don't want to say I only put that loss to Glover Teixeira on the fact that was a long layoff, but I do factor that in when I, you know, assess a fight. That was a long layoff. He was coming off of, you know, knee surgeries, and that was his first fight back. You know, it was ring rust, and you're jumping in there against a long-time killer like Glover Teixeira. You know, that one, it was a great fight for Teixeira, so I'm going to take nothing away. But I think this fight will actually be able to see where Thiago Santos actually stands in the division. He's still ranked the number 2 light heavyweight, rightfully so. But he is the underdog going into this fight. A lot of hype around Alexander Rakic, so... he's a minus 167 favorite to Thiago Santos, plus 138 underdog. This is gonna be a really interesting fight. For the odds sake, I would honestly say, since Thiago Santos is the underdog, I would place a bet on him. And if Thiago Santos was the favorite, I probably wouldn't touch it at all. So only because there's a chance to make money off of him and his power, I would say bet it. What you say?
Smart. I agree. I think Santos does have that killer instinct, you know, at the end of the day, and I think he's going to be a little bit hungry because he is coming off of 2 losses, and no one likes to be, you know, on a losing streak. So I think he's going to do what he has to pull that one out, and I would put money on him too, Santos.
All right, we're gonna move into We're gonna go ahead and move into the next bout, the lightweight bout between who they call the next Habib, Islam Makkev, versus Drew Dober. You know, this is going to be a really good fight right here, lightweight, at the lightweight division, especially with Habib. No one really knows what he's doing. Islam on a 6-fight win streak, Drew Dober on a 3-fight win streak. Lightyear, talk to me.
So this is going to be a great 155 matchup. Islam's record is 18-1. His last loss was in 2015. So that's saying something. We got Drew Dober. His record is 23-9. He's on a 3-fight win streak. His last loss was to Dariush. So, you know, this is a guy who is building his way up, and so is Islam. I think both guys are really great up-and-comers. None of them are ranked in the top 10 yet, but I believe that the winner of this fight is gonna, you know, break the top 10. I think that Islam has a very, very, obviously, Khabib-like essence when he fights. I think he's a little bit tighter and a little bit crisp on the feet, you know, stand-wise. I think that he's going to be able to maul you on the ground. I think he's going to be able to, you know, outpoint you on the feet. But at the end of the day, I do think that Dober has knockout power. He has a little bit, you know, there's something about him that I think that if you underestimate him, he is going to come out and he's going to make you pay. Both are really great. You know, it's going to be a really great matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of high expectation for a big fight from these two guys. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
This is one of those fights that I really respect because both guys have been calling out people in the top 10 and they've both been getting ignored. Islam, obviously, for different reasons because people, I don't want to say they were afraid about getting mauled like Khabib, but They don't want to lose their ranking to someone trying to catapult above them. And the same thing with Drew Dober. He gets told that, oh, he's not worthy of a top 10 opponent and stuff like that. But after all his fights, he's been calling out some kind of name and just been getting passed over. So these two guys are just going to go out there and respectively trying to stake their claim. And this is a big fight card to do it. There's 3 title fights. So there's going to be, all the eyes are going to be on this fight as well because they're right before them. This will be a proving ground for them to finally be like, whoever wins, hey, give me a top 10 guy, give me, a top 5 guy. I deserve it. Look what I just did if they win in a dominating fashion. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. Drew Dober is a live underdog in this one. Don't take my money to the bank on saying I think he's going to win, but he's a live underdog in it. Who you picking in the fight first?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty clear-cut Islam win.
Clear-cut?
I think it's big. I mean, I think that he definitely is. There's a hype train behind him, and I don't know if Drew ever got if he got what it got to stop it.
Yeah, that's an issue, but there's something special about live underdogs. Remember, Islam's only a plus 14. Excuse me, not plus 14. He's ranked 14. Drew Dober's ranked 15. So they're just right there with each other. But I'm probably gonna go with Islam as well. But if you're talking about just trying to make some money, I wouldn't bet against Drew Dober on this one. He is a live underdog, but I expect Islam to probably pull away with the victory. Now, heading into our 3 title fights, the reason why we're all going to watch this fight card in the first place, we have Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, looking like Big Daddy Kane with that high top fade. I appreciate that. In the rope gold chain. Lightyear, talk to me.
Alrighty. So, guys, Peter Yan, 15-1, coming off of a 10-fight win streak. It's pretty good. On his contrary, guys, Aljamain.
I'm pretty sure Peter Yan's on a 7-fight win streak.
No, he's on 10.
I'm pretty sure he's on a 7-fight win streak.
You can call me out. You can tap on at your baby. Well, anyways, regardless, Aljamain Funkmaster, that guy is, well, he's known to be a grappler. He's known to, he's really tall for the division. He can use his length. I believe that Peter Yan is going to be the better boxer. So if Aljo, kind of just moves for the first 2-3 rounds, gets Peter Yan a little bit tired, and then tries to maybe take him down, tries to throw some of those submissions in there, he might be able to slip one in. Hopefully that day comes and he's ready to go in at all cylinders to take on the champion. Peter Yan did put on a very good performance against Aldo and against Uriah, but those guys are a little bit older in the tooth. They were champions, but I mean, it's time for Peter to face someone younger, someone I would say up and coming. And these guys, these guys are hungry. Him and Sanhagen, they're coming, and I know that they all have, their eyes set on Peter. And so if he doesn't, one mistake, man, it's done. It's done for him. I definitely think that it's going to be another really good fight. It's going to be a matchup fight. I think it's game plan versus game plan. If Peter can, hold on to his game plan and just keep on the feet and, just do what he wants throughout the fight, I think it'll be his fight. But on the other side, I think if Aldo, if he, Aljo, why do I keep saying Aldo? If Aljo, gets him a little tired and then takes him into deep water and, wants to throw in a couple submissions, he might catch him in one of those. What do you think?
This fight is probably the one I'm most interested in, just because I've been waiting for Aljo to get a title fight for so long. I don't know how deep you guys all follow MMA, but when Peter Yan was first getting announced to getting the title shot, there was an uproar online about why isn't Aljamain Sterling getting it. He was ranked above Peter Yan at the time. Actually, who Aljo was fighting, I can't remember his name, but they both were ranked above like Peter Yan at the time.
Marlon Moraes was it?
No. It was the fight. It was like 2 fights after that.
Okay.
But Marlon Moraes did knock him out.
Yeah, I'm saying
that was a nasty knockout.
That's
Magic
one.
Man. Shout out to Marlon Moraes. He's one of my favorites. But there was an uproar online about fans saying why Aljo isn't getting this title fight. So for Aljo to finally get it, I think it's long overdue and well deserved. And look, a lot of people aren't putting that much stock into Peter Yan's title reign. Like, look at his last 2 fights against Faber and Aldo. Like, both old, aging fighters. You know, shout out to the California Kid. Shout out to Aldo, the greatest featherweight of all time. But like, those fights were just they're past their prime. Like, let's be honest. So people weren't putting too much stock into those fights. So Aljo is seen as the guy that should have been in the championship picture, should have been in the championship fight, and should be the champion. So this is a perfect fight for Peter Yan to cement why he is the champion. Because a lot of people feel like he's the paper champ. He's not really the champ. He didn't go through the route to be the champion. They gave him, you know, the old timers to be the champ. Aljo is the one who deserved to be the champion. So this is a perfect fight of Peter Yan proving, hey, shut up, I am the champ. I'm proving it right now. This is why I'm the champion. And Aljo, you know, this is the time for him to prove, thank you all the fans who pushed me into this title fight because I'm the uncrowned king in the first place. I should have always been the champ. So this fight I'm really looking forward to. This is the one that gets your hands sweaty and gets you goosebumps because there's so much on the line, and then I love a good storyline. Like, you can shake hands and be friends and all that, and there's no like hatred between these two. But if you ever watched they were going on Twitter back and forth for over a year. Like I said, this is deep rooted into Aljo getting screwed over and not getting the title fight. So this has so much backstory to it. If you guys have been following the MMA story, this one really gets my blood going. I'm really looking forward to this one. Who you got winning it though?
I actually have the underdog. I got Sterling coming from behind and snatching up submission victory.
Submission victory?
Yeah.
He does win by submission 42% of the time, but Peter Yan wins by knockout 47% of the time. So it's definitely going to be a close fight. Both win by decision 47% of the time, which is weird. I have to go with Aljo though. I've been
matching.
I've been following Aljo for so long. I really want him to get this win. I really want him to be the champion. I already feel like he's the uncrowned king of the division. He deserves it. But hey, if Peter Yan happens to knock him out and, you know, takes home the victory, then he would have shut up a lot of haters and proved why he is, you know, the actual champ. They're at a dead even bet right now. So if you guys are saying, well, you know, Peter Yan is the champ, like when I say that Aljo is called the uncrowned king for a reason, both are at -110, which means it's a pick'em. This is called a pick'em when you're talking about sports betting, because not even the odds makers know like who's gonna win. All the bets are coming in even right now. This is a close fight. People do not know who's really gonna take this one, but I'm pulling for Aljo. I just think it's his time, and he's been hungry and waiting for this for a long time.
You know, I actually do think that he is the paper champion. Peter Yan is the paper champion right now, because I mean, you can't really be considered the champion when you beat Uriah Faber and then all off of a two fight losing streak. You know, I fighters, Justin, but anyways.
Peter Yan, yeah, I mean, that Aldo fight really didn't make any sense.
No, at all. But
Aldo was off 2 straight
I think
losses.
he wanted to get that credit of him beating, you know, someone with a big name. It's one of those things where it's like you still need to pat yourself up by beating an old timer, somebody that who's kind of more out the door and you're more in the door type of thing, you know. I think that's what that was.
I get that, but not for the title. Like, it bothered me that was the fight for the belt.
Yeah.
Like, if that was just a fight, you know, passing of the torch, sure, but it was for the belt. If that would have happened at featherweight, I wouldn't honestly have a problem with it, because at least Aldo is the king of the featherweights. But it happened at bantamweight, which Aldo has been terrible at.
Yes, sir.
But moving on to the women's featherweight title bout, Amanda Nunes, I mean, of course, we don't have to get into her accolades. You should know her unless you've been sleeping under a rock. But then Megan Anderson, a live underdog, a plus 750 live underdog, ladies and gentlemen, means you put down $100, you can win $750 on her winning. What you got on this fight?
All right, guys. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. Nunes is the champion. She is a beast. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say other than she's a beast. She's probably she's the best, well-rounded female fighter in the UFC, probably the world. I don't know much fighters or much people that could, argue against that. She's put in the work. She's the champion. She is one hell of a fighter. So we got Megan Anderson coming over. So this girl she's fairly well at what she does. She's a striker. She is really good at, using her reach. But will it be enough to overcome the well-roundedness of Nunes? And ladies and gentlemen, breaking news, you're going to hear it here first. I don't think so. Amanda Nunes is going to come out the winner. You know what? I don't think that Megan's really ready for this type of fight. I think that there's no better option, and so she's getting thrown to the wolves because let's say for what it is, the women's division is not as stacked as we would like it. There's not a lot of good fights. This is probably the best fight to make, but when you look at Megan Anderson's record, she lost to two of the opponents that Amanda kind of ran through. She lost to Felicia Spencer and to Holly Holm, which both really great fighters, don't get me wrong, really good fighters, a little bit over their prime if you ask me, but they were able to defeat Anderson. And, I think that when you kind of face up against the women's, champion, the best fighter, and, the division best fighter in probably history for women's fighting, it's going to be a one-sided fight. Yeah, I mean,
to give Megan Anderson her credit.
Go ahead, just to give her credit.
I believe her fight with Spencer was wasn't it at bantamweight, not featherweight?
I think so, but
Megan Anderson is a natural featherweight, kind of like Chris Cyborg. Like, so when you're forced to cut extra weight, like, that does affect you. Speaking as, a fighter. But I think that's the best saving grace for Megan Anderson in this fight, is that it's going to be at featherweight. Amanda Nunes is great. Amazing. She's the best. At bantamweight. So at this going up to featherweight, I really do think that Megan Anderson has a good shot at winning. If this was at bantamweight, I would say Megan Anderson has 10%.
So are you saying that you think Megan Anderson would be able to shut out Cyborg?
That was the fight that they originally wanted. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, when they were first doing the featherweight division, that's the fight they wanted. They wanted Cyborg versus Megan Anderson because Megan was the Invicta champion, I believe, at the time. So when they were signing Megan Anderson over, she ended up getting injured, and it was like she sat out like a whole year. So that was the problem with Megan Anderson. But she was brought in to dethrone Chris Cyborg. So Megan Anderson is a live, underdog. And for plus 750, like, what do you really have to lose? Even if you put down $5 or $10, like, she's not a bad fight. This isn't one of those fights where you just throw in someone who's unaccomplished just because Amanda Nunes needs to stay, active. Yeah. So trust me when I say Amanda Nunes is the beast and she might just run through Megan, but don't be surprised if Megan's able to show you some things on the feet. On the ground, I give Megan zero chance. That's not Megan's. That's not Megan's. That's not her game plan.
Smaller life.
Yeah, she's on the feet. I'll box you up. I'll kick you. But if she gets taken down, she's a fish out of water. But if you remember, Valentina Shevchenko, whenever she fought Amanda, she was piecing Amanda up on the feet, and then it's Amanda who has to drag Valentina down.
She's a lot bigger.
Yeah, it just kind of has to hold Valentina down and go for submission attempts, but really she's just holding on to keep Valentina from getting back up. So if Megan can just do that, if she could just outstrike Amanda, but then just stuff the takedowns, then Amanda could be in for a long night because she is giving up the reach as well, even though she has long arms. But I think we're pretty much both saying that Amanda is gonna win. It's not a big mystery fight, but like I said before, if Megan pulls off the upset, I will not be surprised. I won't be one of those. Oh my gosh! I would be like at featherweight. Yeah, I kind of saw this.
Yeah, and I think if Megan does pull up the upset, I think this is the biggest difference that an underdog's had in a UFC title fight, at least for the women's. I believe all UFC, but I might be wrong. But it will be something in that nature.
I think GSP Sarah, and then Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey were the 2 ones prior.
Okay, well, this will be up there for sure. This will for sure. But yeah, guys. I mean, you never know. It is fighting. You never know. Once they close that cage, never know.
One punch.
Or knee or elbow. Yeah. You just never know. There's too many variables in this sport. But I want to say
Amanda doesn't make mistakes. Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much where it's at. But all right, moving on into the main event, we have Israel, the last style bender Adesanya versus Mr. Polish Power Jan Blachowicz. Let me take the lead real quick on this one.
Yes.
So
what you got?
This is going to be a great stylistic matchup because you have Izzy who can just piece you up. He's so masterful. He's so technical. Like the way that he puts on a performance, doesn't matter if it's a wrestler, a striker, jiu-jitsu guy. It's all the same. It's counter strike and then attack. His beautiful check hook, his step off two is just it's really a thing of beauty when you watch him. Well, I would say poetry in motion, kind of like upgraded version of Anderson Silva, the way he's able to flow in there. But Jan Blachowicz, the way he just throws that Polish power, it's not reckless. So that's why I really like watching him too, because he bites down on the mouthpiece and swings for the fences, but it's controlled. It's like organized chaos, if you will. He'll bite down on the mouthpiece, but his chin will be down, his hands will be up, and then he just throws these big shots, these big hooks. And look, he was talking about Polish power for a long time, and no one was believing him. It was just a cool name. It was alliteration, Polish power. But when you look at the track record, I mean, he knocked out Luke Rockhold, knocked out Corey Anderson, knocked out Dominick Reyes, who a lot of people thought Dominick Reyes was the uncrowned champ, and me, myself included, thinking that he won 3 of those 5 rounds against John Jones and should have been the champion anyway. Some of that, I might say, in that fight was Dominick Reyes' fault. He looked a little cocky, like, oh, I know I'm the champ. This is just somebody in my way. Yeah, and Jan Blachowicz said, no, screw that, and then knocked him out. But for Izzy's performance, I'm really just looking for him to stick to a game plan of counter-striking and picking him apart. What do you got to think about that?
So what I think is, you got a guy in Izzy who's going to be the smaller but way quicker fighter. He's going to have great movement. He's going to be agile. He's going to be he's going to be able to control the cage a little bit better. I think he has one of the highest IQs, if not the highest IQ. He's great with different combos. He's great with moving around, his footwork, everything. And we got to remember that he has fought heavier guys. He's fought heavyweight when he was doing kickboxing. Obviously, it's not the same thing as MMA because in kickboxing, it's more just striking kicks. But wrestling, you got to remember that the Polish power, not only does he have Polish power, but he is also going to be a bigger fighter. So he's going to come in. I think he should be heavy. He's going to be more. Like wrestling has to be kind of in the forefront of his thought process because if Izzy is worried about the takedown, he's not going to probably get off those shots as well as he would otherwise. If it's just a straight striking fight with kickboxing fight, I guess you can say Izzy's going to be the guy that has the more touches because he's faster, and I think he'll be able to get off more. But if the Polish power comes in, wrestles, pushes him on the cage, is a little dirty with him, just takes him down or just attempts to wrestle him, I think that's going to give him a little bit of a better opportunity to actually hit him with that one-hitter quitter that we all know that he got,
So do you believe that Jan Blachowicz should change a little bit of his game plan? Because his last couple of fights, it's just been, I'm going to knock you out, I'm going to outstrike you and knock you out. But knowing that Izzy's such a beautiful counter striker, you think he should lean on the wrestling more and the jiu-jitsu more?
I think that he shouldn't change too much of what he does best, but at the same time, you do got to take it under consideration that this guy is probably going to be a lot faster than you are, and you don't want to get countered by something because you're being lazy or because you can take him down. I think he should obviously use that black belt that he has to put it to use. You're a black belt. I mean, you're bigger than this guy. Just put your hands on him and get 1-2 good takedowns, and I think you'll be able to really slow him down at least.
He's definitely going to be bigger. Since we last spoke, they had the weigh-ins, and Izzy weighed in at 200 pounds exactly while eating a pizza on the scale, and it looked a little bit of it looked a little fake, 200 pounds. He looked a little bloated, like he drank a lot just to get the weight up. Yeah. He looked like he was probably really around like 193, 194, around that area, which he said he was going to weigh in at. That 200 just looked like extra water weight just so he could bulk up on the scale. So Jan should definitely have the size advantage. By the time the fight starts, I expect Izzy to be around 196, 195, while Jan's probably going to be around 215 to 220 at the least.
Easy. Yeah.
So, but since you talked about the wrestling, Jan's average is only 1.16 takedown average per 15 minutes. Oof. So, I mean, factor that in.
As bad as mine.
Factor that in with first round knockouts and stuff like that, obviously. But he really doesn't shoot that much. But when he does shoot, it's above 50%. 52% takedown accuracy. But if you flip around to the middleweight champion, Izzy, 86% takedown defense. So that could be a real battle right there. Like, I think the advantage would probably be the strength of Polish power, but Izzy's takedown defense has been really great. He was able to, whenever Kevin Gastelum was able to drop him, he popped right back up. So I think that's going to be the real battle right there as well.
All right, yeah. So I'm actually going to go with Izzy on this fight, and I think that makes it. We've been picking the same one, so
the entire card we picked all the same. I promise that will not be how it is. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, even though he is Polish power, he only wins by knockout 30% of the time. Izzy wins by knockout 75% of the time.
Yeah.
So
three of his last 4 came by knockout. So
yeah.
Polish power does have that. That don't sleep on him. He does have that one-hitter quitter that you never know when it's gonna come out.
I mean, and for him to be the light heavyweight champion and to be the underdog, I'm sure he feels definitely disrespected heading into this fight that the middleweight champ is actually the favorite.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It really is. But just to add some parity, I am going to bet on Megan Anderson. Okay, I mean, a plus 750. You can't go wrong with that, even if you put down like $5 or $10. Megan Anderson, did you see her on the scale? And she towers. Yeah, she towers over Amanda. Like, even when Amanda went against Cyborg, they like the height difference. Like, it wasn't that much. But
she's a true 45er.
Yeah.
True 45.
Megan towers over her. I'm pretty sure Megan's probably gonna be like a 160 when that fight happens.
You want to know something kind of funny, kind of not strange, but you know that the UFC has not put anybody in any kind of order in the 145 division for the women's rankings. It's literally Amanda.
It's whoever wants to take a fight.
I don't know if it's disrespectful or if that's just like, hey, you come and you fight.
It was like,
that's crazy.
I feel like you can just walk into Dana's office and be like, can I fight at 145? You want the belt? Yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
That's pretty much.
I mean, they need challengers. They built it for a Cyborg, and then we all know what happened. Yeah, we all know what happened with that. All right, now since we have that whole card wrapped up right now, we're gonna get into our sleeper fight that we're maybe sliding underneath the radar that we think you guys should watch, but then also our lock-in pick, our lock-in bet. We're gonna track this through the rest of the year of 2021 to see who has more wins on this, me or him. It's gonna be me. But we're gonna give you our sleeper fight that you guys should definitely look out for, and then our lock-in pick. Lightyear, take us away.
All right, so my lock-in pick is going to be coming in the prelims So it's going to be the second fight of the night. It's going to be Uros Medic. He's going to be fighting Alan Cruz. It's going to be a lightweight bout. So a little bit about this fight. Uros, I don't know how to say his name. He actually was on the Contender Series a couple months ago. I don't know how long. And he actually fought a guy that's also from the Bay Area, Mikey Gonzalez. He fought, and this guy's stand-up was very impressive. He's 6-0, so he's like an up-and-comer. He's, you know, he's going to have to battle his way through the lightweights because, man, we were talking about how crazy that is. So that's just a whole different, you know, story. So I think that's going to be my my guarantee pick. I think he's going to just overwhelm Cruz on that fight, and then my that's my lock-in, and then my other one's going to be not to miss is going to be at the top of the prelim. That's Dominique Cruz versus Casey Kenny. He is you know, a Hall of Famer, Dominique Cruz is, and I don't think that's going to be one to miss because that's like kind of a passing of the torch. If the young Kenny could get through Cruz, you know, then we know we got a contender in him. So, and if the old dog and Cruz come back and, you know, just tell everybody, hey guys, like, you know, I've been out for a bit and my last fight, you know, wasn't the real me. You know, I think that's going to be one not to miss. So what about yours? Let's hear yours.
All right, my sleeper pick for what I think is going to be a great fight. You got to watch the fights a little bit early. This is on the early prelims, which is going to be on the UFC Fight Pass. But I like to show love to the flyweights because I think that their fights are always so exciting and fast-paced. I know a lot of people don't like to watch the flyweights. Like, they're like 5'4", 125 pound, man. They'll beat the shit out of all y'all, okay? These flyweights are really fast-paced, and it's very exciting. So it's going to be Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. Espinoza is actually the favorite in this, while Tim Elliott's actually ranked. And Tim Elliott's number 12. Coming off of a win, Jordan Espinoza is the favorite coming off of a loss. So this is going to be a really good
disrespect.
It really is just disrespect all over this card. But I believe in Tim Elliott. I think this is going to be a great fight. I think his last loss was to Askar Askarov. Askarov. Well, we're actually going to get to him in a minute. But that was Tim Elliott's last loss. He's coming off of a win, like I said. He's trying to get into that top 10, back into the top 10. That Askarov loss dropped him out of it. So he's number 12 now. He's trying to bounce back. He wants to get to that title shot. Look out for that fight. Now, my lock-in pick is going to be Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov in the flyweight division also. We just talked about Askarov coming off of that win with Tim Elliott. Joseph Benavidez, number 2. Askarov, number 3. This is probably going to be Joseph Benavidez' swan song. You know, 2 straight losses to Figueroa for the flyweight title. Got destroyed both times. So he's nowhere near getting...
That's pretty bad.
Nowhere near getting a title shot again, even if he is ranked number 2. He's the underdog going into this fight, but I believe this, like, he knows he didn't want to go out that way and call it a career. He wants to end on a win. He wants to take this fight, and he wants to control it, dominate it, pick up the victory, and then ride off into the sunset with his beautiful wife, Megan O'Leary, who works for the UFC also. But also, they announced the flyweight title fight versus Figueroa versus Brandon Moreno, the rematch. So if Brandon Moreno can pick up the win, because it was a really close fight, that first one.
It was.
If Joseph Benavidez wins, he might not have to retire because that's a fresh fight for him and getting back into the title picture. If Figueroa wins, retire. You're not getting another title shot. You got dominated twice. But if there's a new champion and you're ranked number 2 and you just beat the number 3, you are right back in there for the title shot. So I think Joseph Benavidez has ran through all that in his head. He's a veteran. He's been around since the WEC days, so he knows what's at stake right here. Lock it in, baby. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on this card?
That's pretty much it, man.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. This is our first episode of Welcome to the Light Show. But I promise this is not just an MMA show. This is an all-world show. Enjoy. Welcome to the Light Show.
Peace.